Welcome to The Advocate, a program that thrashes out all the topical issues of the day.
We've had Dasuki chilling in and out. We don't even know what is going on.
We never actually ever hear the truth. Everybody's the same, and that the same thing that's been going on with Jonathan is going on right now.
Statistically, women are more than the men, but in Nigeria, politics is more of a game of strength than numbers.
One of the reasons why we don't have more women in politics in Nigeria is for as long as political meetings continue to take place in the middle of the night.
Exactly.
Nigerians have never been more ready for a change. Somebody's got to sit down to say that this is my strategy for making change.
And it has to be a united.
Frankly, Nigeria is becoming a very ugly place everywhere. In the villages are worse.
We have a heritage, but dirty heritage.
Basically, and that's it. I don't think we know beautiful things anymore.
You depress me.
Look, Ankara and Tiwa.
Hello and welcome to The Advocate. This week, Uche wants to know why our president is so consciously uncoupled with pertinent issues. Liborous wishes to shine our eyes to the beauty of reading both sides of the story. Ekene thinks we should listen more to each other. Could she be talking about this panel? Chuka wants to speak the truth about the dead. And yours truly is taking on the 10-year challenge. So me first. You would have to be an incurable social media phobe not to be aware of the current trending craze, the 10-year challenge. As a result of this challenge, many are sharing tales of their journey over the last decade, whilst also subjecting us to numerous pictures, some of which could shock the eye into permanent quiver or lead to sudden blindness. Although I'm yet to participate in this challenge, it did get me thinking about Nigeria and where we were 10 years ago. I moved back to this country in 2008. At that time, Fashola was governor of Lagos State, PDP was in administration, Yaradua was our president, Saraki was governor of Kwara State, Atiku was a businessman, Yemi Oshibajo owned law chambers, Buhari was living in retirement in Dara as a cattle rearer, and the now defunct Next newspaper was the best daily in the country. This month marks the 11th year in this country for me. Let's pretend it's 10 since today is not the exact date. So in a little over a decade, I have witnessed numerous changes, from the good to the bad, the sublime to the ridiculous. Some positives that come to mind is dollar was 150 naira to 1, Lekki Expressway, Lekki Ikoyi Bridge, a cleaner and better Lagos, a less congested Oshodi Expressway, a push towards agriculture as a revenue, a burgeoning and bustling cafe and restaurant, arts and entertainment and cinema culture. But some negatives always stick to one's head. A dirty Lagos, abduction of 250 schoolgirls from their dormitory, amongst many others, Boko Haram menace, a volatile $350 to $400 rate to 1 naira, a decline in communal care, more hype, less substance, I'm sure many of you see this, and a one-term APC governor in Lagos State. Who would have thought it? Meanwhile, on the other side of the globe, the chief prefect in charge was the intelligent and competent Barack Obama. Don't tell Uche that. Together, the world rejoiced at the previously implausible emergence of a black man as the president of America. Obama said, yes, we can. We responded, of course we can. So to truly understand how much Nigerians believed in these dreams, hopes, and aspirations, permit me to read an excerpt from Ambassador Johnny Carson, who became the Secretary of State for Africa under Obama. He said, 50 years after most African states achieved their independence, the continent is still striving to realize its potential and to play a more significant role on the world stage. He continued, Africa's economic potential is vast. Its importance as a trading partner will continue to grow. We must place renewed and sustained emphasis on Africa's agricultural sector to spur development, create jobs, and end hunger. We must help Africa transform its farming sector to achieve a greater agricultural revolution. Now remove Africa from there and replace it with Nigeria. It becomes clear, doesn't it, that we didn't just lose our way, but our vision has been blinded by a cataract of gluttony, leading to increased corruption, resulting in almost total societal and political degradation. And remember Vision 2020? That's the year Nigeria aimed to join 20 countries with the largest economy in the world. So what happened? Should we continue to remain hopeful, or are we just clutching on to straws of celestial miracles not recorded since the birth of Jesus Christ?
If you look at Lagos State, and then you look at the achievement of the outgoing governor, Ambode, and then you juxtapose that with, the government at the center. So if the same party in Lagos State can say, look, you have not performed enough, why still, hold on tenaciously to that government at the center? So those are some of the imaginations.
No, I'm sorry, I didn't understand.
But I disagree with you about your assessment of Ambode. I think Ambode is one of the best governors Lagos State has had.
Chuka, I'm about to faint.
And yes, and I also think that I have to praise him for challenging for challenging his godfather. Even if, and I have to, and in that,
that's
and in doing that,
rumor.
It's not. Hang on, it's not. It's a fact that he did challenge his godfather. He didn't challenge him in the sense of pointing a finger in his eyes, but by doing what he wasn't supposed to be doing.
Yeah, definitely, we are not where we were. Yeah. But we are not where we ought to be.
Have we progressed?
Yes, in
Vision
some
2020
areas.
is next year.
In some areas we have progressed, but not at the speed. Not at the speed that we
give
ought
us some
to.
instances of these areas we've progressed.
Yeah, really. You look at in terms of infrastructure, really, you say we have not progressed, really. Yeah, because there are some basic infrastructure that you would expect. Now we're still grappling with, power. Still grappling with
roads.
Roads. Everything. And then talk about energy, mainly. All of these are areas you had expected that we would see improvement. But in terms of public enlightenment, we have progressed.
I have to agree with you on that.
I agree.
In terms of,
I agree. Yeah.
in terms of holding our leaders accountable,
yes.
we had also progressed.
Well, yes.
If you look at our elections in 2003, 2007, and then you look at election 2015, and where we're going to now, you would say yes. We have really progressed, and then
Well, in the electoral process, is that what you're talking about? Because I don't really believe that we have progressed in that sense.
Let me land. The elections for 2003 and 2007 largely were selections, but for the 2015 election, you look at. I'm not talking about elections at the local government level.
Yeah, okay, fine.
From the state to the federal level, you look at 2015 with the introduction of an innovation, and so people were like, yes. For the first time, you could see a departure, unlike where people just sit down, write result, and But there is still a loads to be done. But you could see that we have departed from where we were.
I'll tell you what it
and
excites
then,
me.
sorry, quickly, I'll round up on this. And then also, in terms of agriculture, you would see some form of movement. In terms, but the problem really is the value added. Exactly. We've not been able to add serious value to agriculture. So these are some of the areas. So that
I absolutely agree on the agriculture. I know it hasn't done anything much, but now even the next president would take agriculture, all these rice that they've been selling us an MTA.
Yes.
Admittedly, if I became the president today, I will pick up on the rice and I will move it.
Yes, essentially, I'm so excited about the way we're going in terms of democracy and in terms of the whole process of engaging the people. And what has fascinated me the most is the fact that we're having more town halls, and we even had one recently. And that, for me, at least defends the fact in my mind that the people in power are not confident enough in any of their gymnastics they pull behind the scenes because they're going out of their way to engage the public. That's what that says.
I think you're right. I think also often people have taken for granted. I mean, given that we're talking about this 10-year challenge, 10 years ago, I implemented a town hall meeting. So I've always been aware that these town hall meetings, as important as they're not just important, but the difference is that I think back then, and I can't speak across the country, but back then in my experience, a lot of the town hall meetings were not so well attended by the so-called educated class. Okay. Do you understand? I think there was a lot of snobbery. Now you've got the educated class actually taking it upon themselves, because you have to remember that all over the world, the middle class are the chattering classes, okay? And they're often the ones that benefit and the ones that are quick to complain, and their voice is the loudest. But when I think of 10 years for me, given that I came into this country because of technology. I mean, I came to work here in technology, telecoms and technology. Well, that's one of the things that I've seen that's changed. Yeah. And that excites me a great deal. There are more tech entrepreneurs.
It didn't just change 10 years ago.
But it's grown. It's actually grown. It's actually grown.
What I really love about this 10-year challenge.
No, in Nigeria, it's grown a lot.
Yeah, because it grew in the other world, and so the market is.
Yeah, but the thing is,
I know exactly. I have the same point of view with you. Where it just had to grow here because it was growing worldwide.
Yeah, but no, I'm talking about techpreneurship.
Okay, let me talk.
Techpreneurship.
Look,
techpreneurship is a big deal.
The beautiful thing about this 10-year challenge, I think it's wonderful that it actually started on social media.
Oh, I hated it.
No, listen, I think it's beautiful that it started on social media because really the greatest impact that has happened in Nigeria is social media. Because it's brought our leaders closer to us. They have to engage with us. They will collect abuse from us
like
directly
holding up a mirror to
their ear or to their face. So I love the fact that this thing started on social media. The other thing I love about your topic today was, when I thought of the 10-year challenge, I heard Ireti was going to talk about 10. I thought, why? Why are you going to, it's not even something I really want to get involved in. But the fact that you took it, you turned it around and we're now talking about 10-year challenge, like where Nigeria was and where Nigeria is. It's a shame that many of us didn't actually look at it like that. If I'd really sort of taken my time and thought, how can this 10-year challenge actually mean something? Your approach was fantastic. And you know what?
Can I just straight my hair?
It's not coming from me. It's not coming from me.
Viewers at home, we do like each other.
Actually, we're saying, are we happy with the way Nigeria is moving?
Me personally, I'm not. I kind of feel like we're going backwards. That kind of like taking 2 steps forward and taking like 4 backwards. Or
what's discouraging you about?
I just feel like rather than, going towards a more sophisticated democracy where currently, right now, if I'm really going to be honest with you, I feel like we're living in a form of dictatorship.
Really?
Yes. Yeah. I really feel like freedom of speech is being limited.
And we're talking so much on social media.
We are, but we're being arrested so much more as well. Well, I'm just going to say, seriously.
Uche, you're sounding like your godfather, Trump.
Hey, you shouldn't have said that so early in the program. It's going to derail us.
We'll put that on ice for now. We'll just put that on ice. But no, seriously, I just feel like, people are talking about, we had a government once upon a time that had so many women in top positions. And I look at it, you can't even see many women now. And when they're there, they're not even really making a mark. And then they have an NYSC problem and this and that. It's just for me.
The woman they put there is in London. The trouble she has on her head.
Even less investment in education now than there was.
But really, if you look at government, governance, democracy, from 1999 to 10 years thereafter another 6 years, and then now you look back 10 years later, you look at democracy. Another thing you notice is that we are more divided now than we ever.
Yes, and that's a sadness. That's a real sadness.
But isn't
now it is so bad that if you criticize an action of government, depending on the party he belongs to,
correct.
You are labeled,
correct.
And one other thing people forget is that the masses are the ones in opposition. The members of the political class are in the same class.
Yeah, exactly.
That's why it's easy to cross from one party to another.
But I have to ask a question of you, Liborous, and you make a very good point about the fact that we're much more divided. Is that division coming as a result of government or as a result of the agitators in the East?
No.
Because if we're going to have, if we're going to have an honest discussion,
let me break it down. Let me break it down. Let me break it down for you. That before now, it's you also cannot isolate it from our education. Education, the world is diversifying into a knowledge-based economy.
Yes.
What we have is we're discussing diversification. We are not even sure where we want to diversify to. And so you find out that our education teaches you to look for jobs and not to create jobs.
Yes.
And so when that happens, you're looking for job. The only job that is available is government job. And so anybody that holds on to government job or government patronage...
That was in the past, though. Not anymore.
Even till now.
No, there's a lot of push towards
You asked me a question. So now you find out that people who are holding on to government and government patronage and largesse are seen as, oh, they are benefiting now. When will it be our turn to benefit? And so it became a turn-by-turn thing. So when you are in government, you don't see nothing wrong with whatever is happening. The moment you are out there, everything is wrong.
And so that's
what is dividing us. I just told you, I said we are largely divided.
Self-interest is governing our... No, but I don't think it's as simple as that, actually. And let me just drop a pebble in the middle of this conversation, like ripple effect. One thing that demonstrates to me that it has to do with the people in power, or the person in charge, is for the period where, and I hate to say this because I don't like to point fingers at those in authority. I'm pointing. When that person, when a certain person was away getting medical treatment, and all these
when
things
the president was away.
Okay, let me be a bit more,
Which president?
Current president.
Currently, our current president.
Okay.
When he was away getting medical treatment, whilst he was
away.
away, and all those things were flaring up, his VP stepped up, and for some reason, the whole attitude he had seemed to douse the flames a lot more in just a few weeks.
And
what did he do? What did you think
he went and met the people on the front line. He engaged with them, especially the people.
Not just if you say he met.
I think
he engaged with them.
What he did was to give a sense of belonging to the ordinary man.
All it is.
Yeah, no, but
so the leadership essentially can play a large part.
But no, respect. The way you perceive somebody actually has a lot. It matters a lot on how you receive them.
Okay.
So, and I think the fact is, there's not many people who do not respect the profession and the professional that is Yemi Osinbajo.
Okay.
And there is, listen.
It comes across as objective.
It's not just that. The man is a lawyer. He's been celebrated.
It's not about his person.
I'm not just saying the person. I'm saying, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying the respect matters. This is what happens in Nigeria. We start and we just go on. So anyway, time to go for a break. Join us after the break.
Welcome to The Advocate, a program that thrashes out all the topical issues of the day.
We've had Dasuki chilling in and out. We don't even know what is going on.
We never actually ever hear the truth. Everybody's the same, and that the same thing that's been going on with Jonathan is going on right now.
Statistically, women are more than the men, but in Nigeria, politics is more of a game of strength than numbers.
One of the reasons why we don't have more women in politics in Nigeria is for as long as political meetings continue to take place in the middle of the night.
Exactly.
Nigerians have never been more ready for a change. Somebody's got to sit down to say that this is my strategy for making change.
And it has to be a unite.
Frankly, Nigeria is becoming a very ugly place. Everywhere. In the villages are worse.
We have a heritage, but dirty heritage.
Basically, and that's it. I don't think we know beautiful things anymore.
You depress me.
Look, Ankara and Tiwa.
You're watching The Advocate on Plus TV Africa, and I'll take it from here. So today my topic is about the unaware president. Okay, as news filtered in that the president was unaware that the Chief Justice of Nigeria was to be arraigned by the Code of Conduct Tribunal, I started to ponder about our presidency, and more specifically, our president. I started to recall the numerous times I had heard or read that the president was unaware, and I began to wonder what that really means for this nation. Soon after the president assumed power, the delay in choosing his cabinet should have been a big clue that the president was unaware of the great job of leading such a complex and troubled nation as Nigeria is and was. We expected him to hit the ground running and firing on all cylinders, but what did we get? We got what is popularly termed Baba Go Slow. The president also said that he was largely unaware of the state of the economy when he got into power. Again, considering he had run for this very office 3 times, Chuka, was a military head of state and held different positions in government throughout his adult life, this was indeed surprising to say the least. We expect our leaders to be proactive, but what we have largely gotten is a passive or reactive government at best. Prior to the president assuming power on May 29th, which is actually my birthday, 2015, the country was under attack by not just Boko Haram, but also terrorists masquerading as herdsmen. Being an ex-military man at that and promising to put an end to all of this, we had total faith in his abilities. But 3 years down the line, we are beginning to believe that his government might be just as clueless as the previous one. All we keep getting from the president's spokesmen and supporters is that the president means well. But how can we believe this to be the case when he is barely aware or even remotely aware of what is going on in the country at present? Pray tell, how do you prove that you mean well if you don't even know about the key issues, and how to tackle them? Okay, let's look at some of the other instances when the president was unaware, shall we? First, when the pension fugitive Abdul Rashid Maina was reinstated into the federal civil service and Premium Times broke the story, it took the presidency days to react. Expectedly, the president said he was unaware and quickly ordered the reversal of the decision. Things got even more ridiculous when the president appointed a number of people that were comically described by Nigerians on Twitter, yes, as ancestors. Yes, dead people were given appointments on boards, federal agencies, and parastatals. I will agree that oversight cannot be the sole responsibility of Mr. President, but surely you must agree that it speaks to the overall leadership culture of the Buhari administration. Just when we believed we had heard it all, the president unashamedly told the people of Benue in the wake of the Benue massacre that he was unaware of the IGP Idris Ibrahim's disappearance from Makurdi. It didn't matter that a known news outlet had 40 days earlier published an exclusive report detailing the IGP's disappearance. Unaware that the nation was in mourning, 2 days later, the president mistook a condolence visit to Yobe for a celebratory event, red carpet and all. Then we have the case of the Kano governor who was secretly filmed receiving dollars as bribe. There was a silence from the president and the presidency. For a long, long time, until finally we got the usual, we have passed on the tapes to the relevant security agencies for review. Recently was the invasion and occupation of the Daily Trust newspaper offices in Maiduguri by the Nigerian army. Once again, the presidency was unaware. With the widely circulated video of Aisha Buhari where she purports that a cabal of 2 people, and those 2 people do not include the president himself, is running the presidency, it stands to reason why the president is so unaware. So, is Muhammadu Buhari really aware that he is Nigeria's president? Can Nigeria afford to continue with a president that is largely unaware of the goings-on in his country? My fellow panelists, really, this is over to you. What did you say?
I just want to ask you one question. Why are you telling us when your birthday is exactly?
I don't know, just in case you want to send flowers.
I do a double take.
Flowers, right? Something.
I just wanted to sink into
strategy.
people's minds that Democracy Day, Uche's birthday.
Oh,
Exactly.
yeah?
And flowers.
And flowers and chocolates.
Okay, and also to ask, I know I just said one question.
Yeah.
When does unaware mean no comments? Because unaware sometimes, like when you talked of the CJN and he claims he's unaware, it's a claim really, because it could be a strategy.
Oh, we know, but
how unaware is he
But
really?
it's disastrous for a president
To even say
be
he's unaware.
of the chief
It's a
justice.
ploy.
Not
It's a ploy.
Not a deputy director in a ministry.
No, what we're saying is was he really unaware? That's the question I'm asking.
No, if he wasn't, and a son, that is his vice, that's Oshimbajo, a son and a professor, actually said, my Oga was unaware. It's a terrible
He said he was unaware till Saturday night, the night before the...
It's the
so
worst
it's a cover.
indictment
That's really
on
what
any
I'm suggesting.
president
but it's
to say
bad.
they're unaware.
A
period.
president is unaware.
How
his
can he be
vice,
unaware?
with his educational qualifications, says that his Oga is unaware. He's the one to tell Oga, we are not going to tell anybody that you are unaware.
No, you're not getting the point unless you're
There is
getting
no
it.
way
I'm not
to
getting you.
explain.
I'm
You are
saying
aware
that
of.
it's the lesser of 2 evils to claim you're unaware.
How
Because
is
if you
it
said
the
you're
lesser of 2
aware,
evils?
they will imply that you're complicit to this thing. So
You
you've
know
got
what?
to claim innocence
even
and
better,
say you're
so you can
unaware.
get yourself out of it.
There's nothing worse than it
Anyway,
looking like you're a
it's
rudderless
CJN.
ship. Like
Right,
you have no direction. You don't know what's going on. Basically, you're not in control of things. And if you're not in control, how are you the president? That means that somebody else is either running this country or nobody's running this country.
Sorry, that question was like a punch.
Which was part of it?
That's why he's been gathering himself.
Is the president aware that he's the president?
It's a big question. No?
It's a big question, and it was a punch to me, jottled me, and you know, and I think even if it was a strategy, that strategy was very false.
Backfired.
Very terrible strategy.
Exactly.
Even if you are not aware,
You don't say you're not.
you don't say you are not aware because the buck stops at your table.
So what would you say?
And ordinarily, let's look at the issue. If we're in a country where the Attorney General doesn't need to report to the president can even be excused to say, well, that's from the office of the Attorney General. I will find out what actually transpired, what went on. So even if you are not aware, you have three arms of government. The number one man in another arm of government is going for trial for misconduct.
Yes.
And you say, and the charge had been drafted and filed. And you say,
You went informed.
you are the chief fighter of corruption. And you say you are not aware, but that anyway, let institutions be left to handle their thing.
That's why it's a ploy.
You know, that's what I'm saying. If you are not aware, it means your members, these institutions, what if what they are doing is not in tandem with the plans, programs, and policy of your government? And you are not aware. And so that's why for me, and also, maybe also the president is not aware that a lot of people say he's not aware.
Absolutely.
It's getting
Because
interesting.
If he's otherwise, it's becoming unaware one time too many.
I wonder why Ireti is holding her.
I'm waiting for Liborous to finish.
Even just a couple of days ago when they had the president and the VP.
The town hall.
Yeah, and they were talking about the disability bill. And they said it has been transmitted to. He was unaware. He said, no, the VP said, oh, we're unaware that the bill has come back to our table.
You know,
I mean, how can you be so unaware?
You can be aware, but not influence things.
Yes.
The buck stops at your table. Yeah, I have been briefed.
Okay, yes, you can say that.
I have been briefed
but
on
I
this
decided not
matter,
to intervene.
But being an institution of government who are professional in that regard,
I leave them.
I decided that they would have looked at the legal angle, think the process through, before commencing whatever they are commencing.
I think maybe we should even look at ourselves, because we have a president whom maybe it's just a figurehead, really, and we've accepted that. No, because we've bought into this rotation system. Let me say it. Because we've accepted that you must have someone from the north, then you must have someone from the east, then you must have a rotation. So because we've accepted that... Wait now, I'm just adding on, because I know you may have something to say on that. So if we've accepted that we can't just have the best man for the job, and we must have this representation from either tribal parts, then you must accept that sometimes you have a figurehead who is just there to stand, like in the old days where you had a figurehead as chairman, then you had the real executive. So a lot of times, someone asked me the other day and said, actually, when did we last have a president with the intellectual capacity to represent us? A lot of times, we can't remember the last time.
Remember.
You're really looking at VPs who should be president.
Let's not take away this issue from
So when you have, let me land it. So exactly, if you have a president that you've already accepted is just there so he can tick the box of the northern representative, then don't expect too much from him. What I expect from him is not to be aware, because he may not be, he may not be aware enough, but at least let him be aware that he doesn't have the sufficient capacity to hang on to all that data and delegate. So know his own limitations and delegate. That's all I'm expecting from him.
So coming in.
These are not statements credited to spokesperson.
At all.
These are one-on-one with the president.
From the horse's mouth.
Yes.
And so it's not a question of the spokesperson coming out to say the president, apart from when the vice president made that statement at a gathering. These were statements credited to Mr. President. Yeah. The issue here, like Ekene has said, I think we need to begin to relook this quota system vis-a-vis our electoral process.
You can only get what
that even if it's the turn of the region, let them bring out their best 11.
The best man win.
And therein lies the question. Perhaps the best man at that rotation when he came to the north.
No, that's a yap. That's a yap. That can't be the best the north can offer.
You know what?
If what Liborous is saying is that we should let them bring out their best.
He's not the best. No, he's not the best.
We don't know.
No, we know.
Maybe that's the best.
On that note, I think it's time we take a quick break and catch our breaths. And when we return, Chuka will be handling matters.
Welcome to The Advocate, a program that thrashes out all the topical issues of the day.
We've had Dasuki chilling in and out. We don't even know what is going on.
We never actually ever hear the truth. Everybody's the same, and that the same thing that's been going on with Jonathan is going on right now.
Statistically, women are more than the men, but in Nigeria, politics is more of a game of strength than numbers.
One of the reasons why we don't have more women in politics in Nigeria, for as long as political meetings continue to take place in the middle of the night.
Exactly.
Nigerians have never been more ready for a change. Somebody's got to sit down to say that this is my strategy for making change.
And it has to be a unite.
Frankly, Nigeria is becoming a very ugly place. Everywhere. In the villages are worse.
We have a heritage, but dirty heritage.
Basically, and that's it. I don't think we know beautiful things anymore.
You depress me.
Look,
Let's go
and Tiwa.
Welcome back to The Advocate on Plus TV Africa, and it's my turn now. Do not speak ill of the dead. Really? What is, and what was, and what must be said, must be said. Shehu Shagari died not too long ago. Many, as has become customary, poured encomiums on him. He was humble, poor, had a wretched home that was eventually replaced for him by the state. I was sad and angry when I read this, not because Shagari was poor, but because he presided over one of Nigeria's most corrupt governments. I was a mere student in the UK when all around me, Nigerian cabinet ministers, their friends and their children were on a spending spree. Not just the kind in Harrods, but on houses in Knightsbridge, on cars, Rolls Royces with number plates like NPN1. There was the party chairman who had 2 homes at the same time in Pimlico and Knightsbridge. A cabinet minister had 2 homes in Knightsbridge and Stanmore. I am not sure if Shagari was like Azikiwe, on top but with others scoffing the goodies. Might be. Look at Goodluck Jonathan. His oil minister is in London waiting to answer to billions of dollars of stolen money, but our guy is here writing books about his fairy tale democratic exploits. We have not changed. Buhari declared a few cows and whatnot as his assets, but it is clear to even an intern at PricewaterhouseCoopers that nothing adds up. I am taken back to a time when the wind of deceit, forgetfulness, and amnesia had not overtaken Nigerians, when the nation erupted in jubilation at the announcement of the death of Sani Abacha. It was spontaneous, it was real. It may not have been in keeping with my title, but it will never change. We need more of that in Nigeria.
Do we agree with him?
That's what that we need. This nonsense about not speaking. I totally agree with you.
No, but it's not a question of do we. Do you agree?
I wanted to just
no, exactly.
hanging
do you
back
agree?
a little bit so I can come in later.
I totally agree with you on this. I think, look, the truth is the truth is the truth. And sometimes it's also about how it affects you personally. Yeah. And Buhari is a very good example. Look, lots of people didn't want to vote Buhari in 2015 because they remember the Buhari of 1983, and they also remembered what impact it had on their individual families. Lots also chose to vote for him because they said, knowing what they know now, they wish they had. So, but what we can't run away from and what we mustn't run away from is the truth is the truth is the truth. Was Buhari a dictator back then? Yes. Do people feel, some people like Uche feel he's a dictator now? Yes, she does. We know she does. You know, we know she does. But and when it comes to Shagari,
I was feel about him?
Yes. What do
I
you
feel
feel
Buhari is a
about
dictator?
him? Yeah.
Absolutely not. I don't think he's a dictator.
Oh, but you just
no, leave it at that.
I don't think he's a dictator.
No, leave it
at
at
all.
that.
Let me even come in on a different tangent. Let me come in on a different tangent because recently, and I don't remember the name of the person who committed suicide. And then after he committed, this celebrity person, people started talking about how he used to beat his wife or treat his wife badly. Someone help me with this?
No, the man who traveled around the world.
Someone committed suicide, which is,
yes.
you're normally up on these things.
Yes.
Anyway, let me land the point.
Frenchman.
No, but let me make the point. My problem with them talking about him after he died wasn't so much about the truth. It was about bolden up. When the guy is alive, say it when he's alive so he can give you a rebuttal. Not when he's dead and nobody can come back and you come out of your nooks and crannies. So if you have a problem with Shagari's government, come out and
I think they are two
square
different.
up. Don't wait till he's gone.
This is in the public domain. So Shagari is not hidden. We can,
Well,
No, but
Yeah.
try and say it when the person is
There are
able
two-
to come
we've
back.
said it. No, we've said it,
There
but
are
the
two
people
different
still want to hail
scenarios.
him.
There's
There are two
difference
different
between
scenarios.
gossiping a man when he's no more,
Correct.
and then saying events
Yes,
as they
as they
happen.
were.
No, but is it not better
Exactly.
to say it when they're able to
We've
come
been
back?
saying
But
it,
you're
and they're still,
reviewing it.
and they're still revering
I
him.
also, when you know, typical of us, when once a man dies, you know, there are so many people pouring Ekene on, the best Nigeria could have
want to remember
had,
him
you know.
well.
But for Shagari's case, immediately I read GT Ogunye's article
Okay.
on Shagari was a good man, but a bad administrator. I was like, this is it, and this is the way it should be. Call them out for who they are, so that not tomorrow an Obasanjo or a Goodluck Jonathan or a Buhari dies, and you say, oh, the best that
Exactly.
ever came out of Africa.
Exactly.
And this is why,
Exactly.
this is
So,
why
if you
our
remember-
commander-in-chief, his own encomium that he poured out on Shagari, wasn't sincere at all.
What he was saying
Not
there
gonna go
was
anywhere.
perfunctory. That's all. It was
That's okay.
perfunctory.
That's okay.
You can be
Chuka,
perfunctory
Chuka,
and
Chuka,
tell the
quickly.
truth.
Yes, okay.
Uche, please, let's you find out that what we are saying here is history. Let's preserve history.
Thank
Yes.
you. That's what you were
If a
saying.
man was
Give him a truthful
if he was
scorecard.
exactly a bad administrator,
call it
say
like it is.
I
he was
agree. That's
a
my
bad
thing as well.
Administrator.
Yes.
And you know, if he was a good family man but a bad administrator, say that as
The
it
truth is the
And
truth.
not that and also that
And say it
leads-
while they're alive, preferably. Don't wait till
even
they
when
die.
they're dead.
It really doesn't
Ekene, it all
matter
comes
about
out
that.
when they are
Sorry,
dead. We've
sorry.
been talking when he was alive.
Sorry. So that also leads us to these crocodile tears we shed, you know, at the demise of somebody. You
That
go
we don't
there,
know even
you
sometimes.
cry like they said during a funeral.
Crying more than the bereaved.
A man came there and he was crying. Oh, this man went die, and they said it wasn't a man, it was a woman. He said, woman went be like man, not be man. It be. You know, it's typical of us to want to associate and celebrate a man. If that's why also you find out that, like they say, if there were as many men to celebrate a man when he was ill as they are at his burial, perhaps he wouldn't have died.
Exactly.
And so because we say it is on African to talk ill of the dead, but that dead man, why don't we eulogize Oyenusi or Anini, for example?
So we're being
I belong to a
selective.
platform when Chief Tony Aneni died, and I said, look, this man could have had the opportunity to turn Edo State around,
Correct.
but he didn't do it. Instead, he empowered himself, and somebody said, look, I was removed from the platform. Said, look, this man is dead. You should celebrate. I said, no, I won't. Name one university that he donated a chair to.
They removed you from the platform.
Yes, I was removed from the platform, and I said to her, name one university. If I am criticizing leaders today, and this one just passed, we should tell our children, for posterity's sake, the role they played in destroying our economy, in destroying the country, and not because the man is gone, you say, oh, it was a
So
fantastic...
here's what I'd like to say in response to it's not just a Nigeria thing. Look, there's a trend about everybody becoming part-time mourners. It's actually a global thing. You find that celebrities die, they're living in the other part of the world, and suddenly you're supposed to text R.I.P. and all.
Well, you see, the good thing is I've never jumped on that bandwagon.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying.
I refuse.
I wasn't nice to George Michael when he
I've
died.
never been one to actually. I would always say it that when somebody was horrible to me alive, I'm sorry, dead or alive, and I dare them to come and show themselves to me in the
yeah, because
I would say to them, you were horrible to me.
Yes.
If I'm lying, go and tell God.
All
right, because He witnessed everything that happened.
Yeah.
So I'm totally with you. I'm all about
Except
speak
on
the truth.
the government.
You see, speak
except
the
on the
truth.
commander-in-chief.
Speak the truth. Speak the truth. And history. And this is where it's important.
No, but you're
when
saying
it comes
speak
to
the truth,
history,
speak the truth,
when
except
it
when you're
comes
the
to
commander-in-chief.
history,
That's
no,
what you're
I'm
saying.
saying that they give perfunctory statements. It's different to what I'm saying.
Perfunctory statements is like saying he's lying, but he's allowed to.
No, perfunctory.
Yeah, that's what you're
It's
saying.
perfunctory.
In diplomacy,
In
you are allowed
diplomacy,
to.
you are allowed to be.
You are not allowed to lie.
You're allowed to be
lie.
perfunctory.
You can
but
choose
bend
your
the
words.
You're allowed to be
Yes,
perfunctory.
and be
he's not
soft
going to come
on
out
the
and
man
say, I
or the
never
woman.
liked it,
Yes.
is he? But what I'm even saying is
have
that,
to.
so if you're going back on history, and history is very important, what we do is when somebody dies, we are forced to reflect on what they've done previous
try
and
and
the
see
life
the
they've
best in
lived.
their life.
And going by what we're reflecting and what we know, right? Not so much what somebody else says, what we know, what we read. Like Liborous said, it also allows you to learn. Because when that guy wrote the article you said you left, there are certain things in there that you didn't know about him. And that's why it's important to stay true and say, you know what? Yes, it's a shame he's dead. We wish him well in heaven. However, and we must never lose the however.
I think it's very important that Chuka brought this subject matter up because it is good. I actually think it's important that we do speak ill of the dead. Because it's truth, ill, however it may be. Because I think if people realize that people will speak about them and tell the truth about their lives after they have been maybe there will be, it will actually. There's so many people that will want people to talk nicely about them. And then they might just do the right thing.
Yeah, because they say what you leave, what are you going to leave for posterity?
Exactly. Yeah.
But if you know that no matter the heinous crime you commit, posterity is going to judge you rightly, so why do good?
It's time to go on that quick break now, and when we return, Ekene will take things further.
Welcome to The Advocate, a program that thrashes out all the topical issues of the day.
We've had Dasuki chilling in and out. We don't even know what is going on.
We never actually ever hear the truth. Everybody's the same, and that the same thing that's been going on with Jonathan is going on right now.
Statistically, women are more than the men, but in Nigeria, politics is more of a game of strength than numbers.
One of the reasons why we don't have more women in politics in Nigeria is for as long as political meetings continue to take place in the middle of the night.
Exactly.
Nigerians have never been more ready for a change. Somebody's got to sit down to say that this is my strategy for making change.
And it has to be a united.
Frankly, Nigeria is becoming a very ugly place. Everywhere. In the villages are worse.
We have a heritage, but dirty heritage.
Basically, and that's it. I don't think we know beautiful things anymore.
You depress me.
Look, Ankara and Tiwa.
You're watching The Advocate on Plus TV Africa, and yes, it's over to me now. Lost in translation, the dying art of hearing the other side of the argument. Just imagine the scenario. Wife says to husband, I stand by what I said because I know I'm right. Husband says wearily to wife, that's the problem with you, dear. You're always right, and so you will always see me as wrong. Translate this to an office situation where it has become a case of clique versus the other clique, and to a family feuds where the matters have quickly morphed to they think they're better than us, to religious ethnic conflicts with a nation such as ours, and it's literally like walking in a landmine, waiting for one wrong move to trigger the next kaboom. Bring it home to our political discourse, where fake news is the refrain, and the us against them arsenal is constantly being deployed, and you'll have no end of mayhem. No end of relationship breakdown, Congress shutdown, Brexit failure, Rohingya tragedy, Fulani herdsmen crisis, Biafra or burst, rumors of war. What is the root cause of this state of communication breakdown or continual lost in translation? I submit that it starts in the psyche. The individual and or group feels their sense of identity is under attack, enshrouded in what they believe. They are ready to defend it at all costs. They see language as a means of drawing battle lines. Are you for me or are you against me? We see it every day on social media, where much of the exchange genders towards the antisocial, and we term it hate speech. Fragile egos and insecure personas sparring with words, and everyone going away with soul wounds. Sticks and stones may break my bones, but words cannot hurt. Less true words have not been spoken. What is the remedy? It has to be to revisit the lost art of listening and actually hearing the other side. Surely, it's in the Creator's design that one man, woman, or people's perspective does not make the complete picture. Most of us know the parable of the blind men and the elephant, assessed and described from different positions, with each witness insisting that their view is all there is to it. Let's endeavor to build bridges with our words, not brandish battle lines. And maybe, just maybe, we may even cross over to the other side and snatch a refreshing view from there. That's my poetic rendition. So who wants to jump in?
It's always surprising when every member of the panelists finish their rendition, to use your word, and then there's like a graveyard silence for the first few seconds.
Well, you digest the information.
And you now begin to wonder, but while you were reading, were we not digesting?
Were we not digesting it already? Yes. Do we really need?
But really, the act of of hearing the other side, like we say in law, odi otare patem. You must hear the other side.
Okay.
You know, and that's what actually makes a balanced, you know, view. If only in you know, our country, in our world, we develop that act of hearing, you know, the other side fairly, a lot of crisis would have been avoided. A lot of things we tag hate speech. Take, for example, quickly, recently, Fani Kayode and Oduma King went to town. Oh, the CJ house had been, you know, under siege by men of the EFCC. Without hearing from the other side, somebody just, you know, pushed the news and they went to town with it. If only they had exercised restraint, a bit, maybe till morning, they probably would have, or just a few hours or seconds, they probably would have known that they were peddling rumors. And so because, like I consistently say, when rumors start to fly, even intellectuals are taught to convey your bet. So if you know that this your ego tripping, oh, I'm right, if somebody else holds on to that, you can never, with the era of new media or social media, you really can't tell where that white fire will go. You also exercise restraint a little bit and say, okay, let me hear Uche's side or let me hear Ireti's side. And I think that will create.
And I wasn't actually talking about us so much as
okay,
myself.
but you might as well.
Because you know, I know someone close to me who would vouch for the fact
I find what your topic very interesting because, you know, it might actually explain the reason many marriages have broken up. Like, I believe more people break up today than maybe in the past. That's just my belief, you know.
That's true.
Because I think we're too quick to just decide, you know what, you are this way, you can't change, I'm not interested, you don't understand me, and I'm gone. It might sound very simplistic, but I think it really does boil down to that in the end. We're really not interested in listening to once we've made up our minds as to where that person is coming from, we quickly just decide, you know what, we're not going to listen. We're in a world now where we want to put people in boxes. It's so much easier for us to just deal with people when they're in a particular box. So, you know, like last week, on this show last week, when I was saying one side of social media, and you told me that I should, now where am I coming from? That I should state my case. I have to state my case. I was trying to let you know I'm fluid. I'm free. I can flow. You know?
Are you sure I want to get back into that?
No, but I'm just trying to explain to you that this is it. You know, we need to be fluid. We need to be able to flow. We need to be able to compromise. We need to also not feel that we, you know, once we take this stance that we cannot be corrected or we cannot be wrong. You know, because I find that a lot of people that are not like that, they're actually very difficult people.
Yeah, so this is something I was talking with someone about during the week. That social media, contrary to the impression you get when you go on social media that people are going there to be informed, they're usually just going there to reinforce their prejudices. So you find a lot of times with the itching ear syndrome, they go and join certain groups that are spouting the same thing that they believe, and then they all bunch together. And if anybody comes in and dares to say anything contrary, they stone them out of the way. So social media tends to develop that bigotry, or I'm trying to find the right word, that divisive thinking. You know, the way people argue on social media is almost like, if you're not for us, you're against us. And that's where you see it a lot. So,
no, but it depends on the mindset of that person or those persons. Actually, there are some, the same, you are now advocating or preaching against what your write-up or your opening statement, rather, permit me to use that word. You find out that there are some people who have a preconceived mindset who would, you know, want to live that way. There are some who go to social media to actually learn. Okay. They want to hear the other side.
You're saying I'm presuming that everybody is like that. Yeah. Well, the reason I'm doing that is to draw attention to the dangers of...
Yeah, and then also, Uche talked about marriages. I handle a lot of divorce cases, and I know for sure that there's a lack of communication these days. You find out that usually these days is more of a monologue, one side talking, and the other one will say, well, I'm naturally quiet. Or in some cases, what should have just been discussed or give and take thing, you find out that, you know, one person does the talking and the other ones get to a point like, you know what, I'm out. And so there's need to encourage this two-way traffic communication and then hearing the other side of, you know, no matter how stupid sometimes, you know, that other argument might be. They say the wise man learns from both the fool and the wise. You can take away just one word from that stupid statement and it will change, you know, and make a whole lot of sense or add to that your wiseness, and you know, you'll be better for it.
Okay, before we go on a quick break, it's time to read some of your contributions to last week's debate. Chukwudi Nwankwo says, Of a truth, I watched the video. It shows the party in power is bereft of human feeling and control mechanism. Thanks for bringing this to limelight. Najib Bello says, I've been reading up on what happened that day at the rally. People keep calling them thugs, but this is an entire mafia built with support, protection, and funding from the state. The attack on this MC Oluomo fellow and his hospitalization brings scenes of The Godfather to reality. Tina Fodile says, that's Nigeria for you, a country where indiscipline is celebrated. All these were commenting on the videos and the chat about campaign people behaving like thugs. So feel free to join the conversation on Instagram at +TV Africa, #TheAdvocate, and on Twitter at +TV Africa, #TheAdvocate again. We would love to hear from you. Okay, it's time for a brief recess, and when we return, Liborous will be laying down the law. Welcome to The Advocate, a program that thrashes out all the topical issues of the day.
We've had Dasuki chilling in and out. We don't even know what is going on.
We never actually ever hear the truth. Everybody's the same, and that the same thing that's been going on with Jonathan is going on right now.
Statistically, women are more than the men, but in Nigeria, politics is more of a game of strength than numbers.
One of the reasons why we don't have more women in politics in Nigeria is for as long as political meetings continue to take place in the middle of the night.
Exactly.
Nigerians have never been more ready for a change. Somebody's got to sit down to say that this is my strategy for making change.
And it has to be a united.
Frankly, Nigeria is becoming a very ugly place. Everywhere. In the villages are worse.
We have a heritage, but dirty heritage.
Basically, and that's it. I don't think we know beautiful things anymore.
You depress me.
Look, Ankara and
Tiwa.
We are back. You're watching The Advocate on +TV Africa. I'll be taking things from here. The one-sided story. My topic today is inspired by the writer Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, and she called it the one-sided story. She talked about her early days as a writer and how her stories were formed based off what she had read, even though she had never experienced it at the time. In her talk, she discussed the impression one story or a part of it could form. A single story is never complete. It tells only a part of a whole story. She mentioned the way people in other continents have a single story of Africa, one of catastrophe. In her word, so after I had spent some years in the US as an African, I began to understand my roommate's response to me. If I had not grown up in Nigeria, and if all I knew about Africa were from popular images, then I too would have think that Africa was a place of beautiful landscape, beautiful animals, and incomprehensible people fighting senseless war, dying of poverty and AIDS, unable to speak for themselves and waiting to be saved by a kind white foreigner. I would see Africa in the same way that I, as a child, had seen Fide's family. This single story of Africa ultimately comes, I think, from Western literature. Now, here is the quote from the writing of a London merchant called John Locke, who sailed to West Africa in 1561 and kept a fascinating account of his voyage. After referring to the black Africans as beasts who had no houses, he writes, "They are also people without heads, having their mouth and eyes in their breasts." Now, I have laughed every time I read this, and one must admire the imagination of John Locke. But what is important about his writing is that it represents the beginning of a tradition of telling African story in the West, a tradition of sub-Saharan Africa as a place of negative, of indifference, of darkness, of people who, in the words of the wonderful poet Rudyard Kipling, are half of evil, half child, and so I began to realize that my American roommate must have, throughout her life, seen and heard different versions of this single story. At some point in our lives, we have been guilty of viewing a people or a person through one story only. Many times it's not our fault because we may have had access to only one story or a part of a story. Thanks to books and media, other times we are too lazy to find other stories. So we stick to only one and form stereotype on this story. This is why some people feel that all Muslims are terrorists, every Nigerian is fraudulent, and feminists are men haters who do not cook for their husband. You can add yours, the list is endless. These are grossly untrue. She continued, so that is how to create a single story. Show a people as one thing, as only one thing over and over again, and that's what they become. The single story creates stereotype, and the problem with stereotype is that they are untrue. The problem with stereotype is not that they are untrue, but they are incomplete. They make one story become the only story. Story matters. Many story matters. Stories can be used to dispossess people, but can also be used to empower people and repair their broken dignity. We need to realize that there's never a single story of any place. It is important to read diverse and explore cultural similarities as much as we do cultural differences. This is the only way we can get rid of single stories and the danger they pose and regain paradise. And so, I throw the questions back to you.
Paradise regained.
Well, thank goodness. I don't enjoy things that Chimamanda says. That is, I'm not quite her fan. However, maybe because this time she's not talking about feminism and such topics, I'm able to engage more properly.
Because you also listen to just one-sided.
And I have just one-sided about her. It's her side I've been listening to that I don't like.
You didn't listen to us.
No, I will now listen to you guys. Yes, exactly. But I like the whole thing of of different sides and all that, and a balance and helping to balance. Admittedly, it takes a lot of intelligence to balance things, because you're still leaving it to people to balance things by themselves. That is dangerous as well, because I can balance the way I like. I can have 5 sets of information about something. I say, that's it, I've decided this is the way it is.
That's it.
And unknown to me, the 5 are actually quite alike. So I haven't done any work.
But the concept here is not for you to take one and modify it into 5. The concept here really, what you're talking about is, take one, modify into 5 like John Locke did, and others took from there and modified. The concept really is going out actually to seek the other side of the story.
That's what that's what I was saying. That's what I was saying. I was saying that you could seek 5 different sides.
There are always 3 sides to a story, not even 2.
Exactly.
3 sides to a story.
3 even enough?
There are 3. There are 3.
Your side, my side, and the truth.
So basically what the message is not whether people will say, always tell the other side about your story. It's that people should go out there. There are always other sides to that story or that narrative that you are chasing. And so always go out there to, seek, the other narrative. And with that, you have a balanced opinion on
And can I just quickly add that we also need to be good ambassadors of whatever we're trying to portray as well.
Yes.
You could hear about Nigerians being fraudulent, criminals, whatever, but you yourself, if you carry yourself differently, you would change that narrative right there.
You'll be that person out
Wow, we're really making sense today.
It's been a hard day, heated one, and then fun as usual. Even though today I had to put my peperempe on the hot seats. But like they say, time is always not your friend when you're having fun. Same way we can't believe it's already time to go. But I want to say thank you to all my panelists and to this program, which has been hot and diverse. And same way I want to thank you viewers for watching. You've been there for us. But you can continue the advocacy on our social media platform at Plus TV Africa, #TheAdvocate. Until we come again your way, same time next week, let's continue to advocate for a better society. Bye for now and be good.
Welcome to The Advocate, a program that thrashes out all the topical issues of the day.
We've had Dasuki chilling in and out. We don't even know what is going on.
We never actually ever hear the truth. Everybody's the same, and that the same thing that's been going on with Jonathan is going on right now.
Statistically, women are more than the men, but in Nigeria, politics is more of a game of strength than numbers.
One of the reasons why we don't have more women in politics in Nigeria is for as long as political meetings continue to take place in the middle of the night.
Exactly.
Nigerians have never been more ready for a change. Somebody's got to sit down to say that this is my strategy for making change.
And it has to be a united.
Frankly, Nigeria is becoming a very ugly place. Everywhere. In the villages are worse.
We have a heritage, but dirty heritage.
Basically, and that's it. I don't think we know beautiful things anymore.
You depress me.
Look, Ankara and Tiwantiwa.